Good morning, Britain. Breaking news this morning. A couple who have been on the run with their baby for 54 days have been arrested. This morning, police are urgently searching for the baby who remains missing.
Yeah, the couple have been spotted across England since early January. The authorities believe that they have been sleeping rough in that period. And we also understand that the baby has had no medical attention since it was born.
Crisis in the classroom as teachers go on strike today. Tens of thousands will walk out during 3 days of industrial action, starting in Scotland and the North East this morning. Many schools will be forced to close before strikes move to the Midlands tomorrow and to the south and across Wales on Thursday.
I believe we have found ways to end the uncertainty and challenge for the people of Northern Ireland.
Breakthrough. Rishi Sunak is in Northern Ireland today after signing his historic agreement, which promises to cut bureaucracy and solve the problems with the protocol.
The Prime Minister says his deal is about taking back control. His next job is to keep control of any rebellion as MPs start to digest more than 100 pages of detail.
And can you be too posh to play poor? After star of The Crown, Emma Corrin sparked anger for wanting to play someone glitzy with an outrageous accent. We'll be debating whether actors from privileged backgrounds should be allowed to portray working-class characters.
And West End star Lee Mead has thrown out his dream coat and is getting ready to rock. Plus, find out why he credits losing his famous curls for winning him his first role as a villain.
A cloudy day ahead with some scattered showers around, the best of any sunshine in the far north. I'll have all the details of that and more coming up on Good Morning Britain.
Tuesday, 28th of February 2023, live from Television Centre in London. This is Good Morning Britain with Susanna, Reid and Ed Balls.
Good morning, Britain. It has just gone 6 o'clock. We lost someone quite significant yesterday, Betty Boothroyd.
We did.
Yes, who was Speaker of the House of Commons when Labour came to power in 1997. So you must have some very distinctive memories of a pioneering woman.
Well, she was pioneering, the first ever woman speaker. She'd been, I think, a tiller girl in the 40s, 50s.
Does that mean a sort of can-can girl, a tiller girl?
She was like a show girl. But then she became a Labour MP in the... I think she started campaigning in the 50s and was MP in the West Midlands for like 20, 30 years before and became the Speaker. I remember... What do I remember? 1997.
Yeah.
Labour's been elected for the first time in 18 years. Gordon Brown is about to make the Bank of England independent. Biggest change in economic policy for a very long time. The House of Commons wasn't sitting. Right. Did a press conference to announce it. What's he worried about? Is he worried about the global financial markets? Is he worried about his colleagues rebelling? Is he worried about, the wider public reaction? His only concern was he's not going to announce it first to Parliament. And what will Betty Boothroyd say? Gordon Brown wasn't scared of many people. Absolutely scared stiff of being dressed down by Betty Boothroyd. She had that sort of that sway, that power, that dominance in the chamber. She was astonishing, and she took no prisoners. I mean, she was pretty tough.
And did Betty Boothroyd tear a strip off Gordon Brown for not announcing that key policy in the House of Commons?
I believe so.
Oh,
yeah. But, quite rightly.
What an inspiration.
And
I'll be channeling Betty Boothroyd this morning with all guests.
Yes.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Yes.
Also, of course, we have the Prime Minister this morning in Northern Ireland. Yeah. And he believes that he's pulled off quite a coup. This is something that his predecessors in getting Brexit done were not able to do. It's the final piece in the Brexit jigsaw, isn't it?
It also felt to me like the first day when Rishi Sunak, who had been the Chancellor before, becomes the Prime Minister in difficult circumstances after Liz Truss, had a few kind of wobbles in the autumn. It was the first day where you felt this was him really in charge. If he looks back on his time as Prime Minister, this will be a big moment, a historic moment, the first time where we moved on from all of the bitter arguments with the EU of the last few years and get to a better place. So I think he'll be feeling pretty pleased this morning.
I wonder, though, whether this row over the King meeting the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen is going to actually cause some problems for him in Northern Ireland. It's such a trigger. She's not a head of state.
No.
Perhaps it sort of suggests that the EU is a state, which, of course, is a trigger for Brexiteers. The King is obviously an emblematic, iconic character and role. And for him to meet Ursula von der Leyen has ruffled some feathers, particularly with Jacob Rees-Mogg, who was in our programme yesterday morning. What
was strange, if you look at the newspapers today, the EU says, well, it wasn't our idea, she's not a head of state. And the palace say, well, it was the government's idea. And the government says, well, these are always decisions made by the palace. Nobody wants to own this. It will cause some problems in Northern Ireland. I think standing back, though, personally, I'm not sure this was wise. To draw the King into fronting, you know, the photo opportunity for something very politically controversial. I don't think Her Majesty the Queen passed away in the autumn. I don't think she would have ever done this. I just think she never, ever stepped into something which was as contentious, not just party, but broadly politically contentious. And, you know, you can see why I think Rishi Sunak, king of Instagram, likes his photo opportunities. And the Windsor Agreement,
yes,
it was all about the presentation. But
and getting the DUP on side.
Yeah,
as
well, because the unionists.
They're unionists, you know, they're big fans of the royal family. And so having the King there, sort of almost looking like endorsing the deal.
I would say short-term checklist, reasons to do this, tick, 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 tick. Longer term, the relationship between politics and the Crown and, you know, the kind of issues which the King might be drawn into. You know, I think there would be quite a lot of palace advisors thinking, really?
Well, we will ask the Foreign Secretary about that because we are talking to James Cleverly on the programme this morning. And, of course, we'll be with our correspondent in Northern Ireland shortly as well because the Prime Minister is there. Our main news, though, this morning is a breaking news, which is that an urgent search operation is underway to find a baby after a couple who have been on the run for more than 7 weeks have been arrested for child neglect.
Constance Martin and her partner, Mark Gordon, are in police custody, but their child, who's not had any medical attention since birth in early January, is still missing. And our correspondent, Nick Dixon, is in Brighton, where the couple were arrested yesterday. Nick, what more can you tell us? Do the police know anything about the whereabouts of the little baby? And do we know yet what the parents have been charged with?